regardless of you making a drink wrong or getting an order wrong, it never would be a proponent for a customer to throw food back at you, or spit in your face, or curse at you, or anything.
Welcome to the Big Brand Theory podcast by Blackwood Creative.
All right, so not too long ago, I was watching some TV show. My wife and I watch these shows from, I think, like Murder, She Wrote. Like, it's usually to help us fall asleep because they're just not that exciting. So, but in one of the shows, they had a boss and then they had an employee come in and say, hey, boss, this, such and such, whatever. And there was a client there. And the client was like basically making fun of the employee, right? And the boss took the client side and was like, what are you doing? Get out of here. You know, like basically took the client's side because he wanted to save face or whatever with the client. But they made it like a point of showing the employee walking away like all dejected and like down. Mm-hmm. And I think that most employers would look at that and be like, I would never do that. But they do. It's just not so overt or so obvious that they say things in, whether it's passive aggressively in an email or a walk by comment type thing or something, where they're taking the client's side and saying like, employee, you did something wrong. Like, yeah, obviously there's times when stuff's done wrong, but like it's a interesting thing that comes into play then when you do that, because as a leader, I view myself as leading my teams, but at the same time, I'm also kind of protecting them in a way, where if somebody does like come back and say, hey, your team member X, Y, and Z, and they're terrible and blah, 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 like I'm going to stand up for them, or I'm going to take the blame myself, because at the end of the day, it's always my fault as the leader, like one way or another.
Your people are a reflection of your teachings.
Yeah. But that leads us into this idea that as a leader, we should value and care for and build up and invest into our team first and foremost, versus being so focused on our clients and what they want, because honestly, the client is not always right. As much as that stupid saying has been around, the customer is always right. It's just, sometimes they're wrong. A lot of times they are. There's just ways to, say, yeah, okay, whatever. But in reality, like we need to, as whatever level of leadership we're in, like we got to focus on our team and making sure that our team is healthy and we're protecting them and we're giving them all the resources they could possibly need to be successful. And when we do that, then they do the same thing and take care of our clients.
Right. I think that's the part that we have to make known and make it even more known than, people talk about it all the time with taking care of their employees and like with, a lot of people leaving jobs for other jobs, and like a lot of people leave, you see it all the time. It's like people don't leave jobs, they leave bad managers or leaders or whichever. And that's, I understand that. But I think that the main thing is building out a strong team is to have accountability, having integrity, having the ability to be forthright with your team as well as your clients. So just as an insight, like if your client is coming to you and they say they want something one way and it's not a way to do that, like legally or whichever, you have to be forthright with them. Same thing with your team. Like, hey, the client wants this is the way they want it. Like, we need to just do it their way. It's like, almost advocate for your team member and be like, actually, my team member had a great idea, and I think this will be more beneficial for you, X, Y, and Z. If more people start doing that, I think we can correct this nature of like, this is what the client wants, so we're just going to give it to them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, yes, the client is paying for you to do a good job and something that they want, but they more so want results
Yeah.
than just a good job. So if you look at it from building your team out and giving them the necessary components of doing things the way that they should versus just what somebody wants, I think you'll have better turnout for what you're providing. Your client's going to take you more seriously because you're advocating for your team members as well as the product that you're providing, rather than just being like, you have all the ideas, we'll just do what you want. At that point, I mean, there's a movie that I really like called Bohemian Rhapsody, and in the movie, it's based on Freddie Mercury, so he left his band and went solo. And there's like a part in the movie that really stuck out to me was where he went solo, met up with the band, and they're like, so how was it solo? And he was like, they did everything that I wanted them to, but it wasn't Queen. Mm-hmm. Like essentially like that bickering and like getting back and forth with each other and like advocating for themselves, like I want this part to be this way. Mm-hmm. It built this great thing versus just doing what one person said to do. And I think that kind of streamlines into a lot of projects that people do. And it's not just music or whatever at that point. In my mind, it's social media, marketing, and advertising, and billboards, and all this. It's like, you do want it this way, but I want to give you the best product that's going to work the best in this scenario of what you're giving me. And a lot of times I think clients understand that and are respectful of that. And then there's a lot of times where people are like, I just wanted to look exactly how it's looked for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, I understand. And at the end of the day, people are paying for a product, but it's good to speak up, I guess, to let it be known of what you would want for a product. Mm-hmm. And I think having a strong team that's able to do that is like the foundation of giving a great product.
Yeah. And we talk about that here often, is this idea of like we want to demand excellence of ourselves. And by doing that, we're going to provide excellence for our clients. But it starts with us saying, with the idea of integrity, which we talked about this morning, doing the right thing even when nobody's looking, doing excellence even when nobody's looking. We have a poster on the wall. It says excellence in the ordinary. It's that type of stuff that if we demand excellence of ourselves and of our teams, then we're going to be able to provide excellence. And that same flow through is going to translate in basically anything, right? So whether it's excellence in the work that we do, or it's customer service, or it's retention, different things like that. We've seen where when teams turn over a lot, customers turn over a lot as well.
Right.
I know I've stopped doing business with a company because every time I called, it was somebody new, and I was just like, I don't even know who you guys are anymore. Like, right. The service wasn't that great to begin with, but now it's like, oh, that person left. Oh, that person left. It's like, all right.
The worst thing that you can do at the start of a relationship is have to restart that every single time you make that phone call. It's
don't want to do that.
Let me tell you what I provide for you since you are new and don't know who I am or what I've done. We worked with you for 6 months. It's like, that's hard to stomach.
Yeah. So when we look at big organizations that are doing this well, Chick-fil-A is like the one that comes in and gets used a lot as like the example, because they've been open about it. They've been saying like, hey, we're open that we care about our employees first, and we know that then they'll turn because they're healthy and happy at work and take care of our customers as well.
Yep.
I mean, it's just the way it is. And I think Chick-fil-A does not stand alone in that. There's lots of places. We were at one of our favorites, Mission Barbecue, the other night, and I ordered for my wife, and I forgot that she wanted coleslaw. And so when we went to pick it up, she was like, oh, I didn't get coleslaw. And then we looked, and there's a line of like 15 people. And the guy goes, what are you missing? She's like, oh, no, I just forgot to order coleslaw. He goes, no problem. Grabs coleslaw and goes, here you go. And we're like, well, how do we pay for it? And he's like, don't worry about it. That's how we do it here. I'm like, that's because that guy knows he's not going to get fired for that. He's not going to get in trouble. He took care of the customer because he
5
knows.
cents.
Yeah, he knows. He knows he's taken care of. He does not fear his job. He doesn't fear getting reprimanded or whatever. He knows he's in a good environment, so then he can turn and treat the customer with respect. And now we have what he's created, what Jay Bear calls a talk trigger, in a sense, a temporary talk trigger that like now that event has triggered me to tell people about it and say, I like this restaurant, here's why. And I think there's a lot of places that do that. But they focus on making sure their teams are well taken care of so that they can then pour out of their goodness to the clients.
And that is a direct reflection of how you treat your team, because the flip side of that is when, you go through a drive-through and you, for a lack of better term, you're trying to put in your order and the person literally just is talking monotone and is almost dead inside. Like the work has just compounded on them. They're not getting help from their team and like they hate it. I think that really reflects on the leadership of that establishment and how they view their team and how they view, their mental health and all that. But the other aspect too is you get the flip side of this whole scenario is like you can build a great team and all that, but how you protect your team is important too, because people have been seeing these videos of, it's great that people are documenting this stuff now, because people in retail and like fast food and just, Starbucks, any of this thing, there's so many companies that are forward facing to the public that people have been treating people like garbage.
Right.
And like, it's no longer like a isolated incident in some state, like horrible, like it's almost on the daily. And it's sad, but like, I can't tell you how many times people have either, for standing up for themselves, have been let go, or they actually are on video and the manager is not sticking up for their employee. Regardless of you making a drink wrong or getting an order wrong, it never would be a proponent for a customer to throw food back at you or spit in your face or curse at you or anything. I don't care what they messed up. Like, that's just a fundamental of being a human being, is treating people with respect, regardless of the situation. So it's things like that. Like, I was literally talking about this with Allie. I was like, if you ever have an incident where somebody gives you crap, like, you let me know, because I don't tolerate that. Because when she talks with people, she's informative, she's professional, she's courteous, and she's just downright nice. And for somebody to just give, pushback or attitude and like maybe curse her out or say anything like that, like that's uncalled for. Never will handle that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that more leaders need to own up to, is like, it's not just protecting them when you're on camera. It's an all the time thing. It's the integrity of it. Like, stand by your people and have a zero tolerance. Like, I would literally, like, if I worked at McDonald's and somebody threw a drink back through the window or whatever, I would remember your face. You will never get anything while I'm here. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't care. It's a franchise, whatever. But you have to stand by your team, like, to that veracity. Like, take care of your people. Like, they're not your kids and they're not your siblings or whatever, but take care of your people and they'll take care of you.
Yeah, especially as a leader, because your team is looking up to you for so many different things, but they want to know that you have their back. And like for us, trust is a core value here. And we talked about how we want to trust each other and know that we have each other's best interests in mind and that we have each other's back. And so whether it's a scenario like that or when we have to come and make a correction to a team member, they can sit there and know that they trust us, that we are here only to make them a better person, not to...
Or a better creative or a better artist or
yeah, we're only trying to help here, not trying to, pound on them and say, you're doing bad things. No. But we're trying to help them out in whatever way that they need. But that comes from trust. And then when if you are presented in that situation where some customer or client or somebody just goes after a team member in whatever way, if you're not standing up for them, like that trust is gone forever.
Ever. Like
And they will not.
you can might as well just put that in a little calendar event on like I lost this employee today. They might stay for a few more weeks until they find another job, but as soon as that happens, that person is like, I'm checked out. I'm about to leave because I have nobody I can trust here.
And that's an extreme scenario where we get stuff like literally physically thrown at us.
Right.
But I think the more common scenario is when we get words thrown at us.
Right. Which are equally just as bad.
Yeah. And they're hurtful in so many different ways. And if we as a leader are not able to help them in a certain way, and like I've had that happen at our print shop where a customer has just been downright like nasty with a team member. I literally called them up and said, hey, please do not call us ever again. You're no longer a customer of ours, because I'm not going to stand here and watch you rip on my people, because they're my people. And I know they do good work, and yeah, they're human and mistakes can be made, but that gives no right to anyone to be nasty to my people. So that's the level that needs to be taken, whether it's in that like protective mode or in like providing resources or whatever.
Yep.
Take care of your team, they'll take care of your customers. And as a leader, you can focus on that. And really, to me, it gives a leader almost a little bit of freedom to say like, okay, I don't have to like try and like split my vision and be like, are the customers taken care of? Is this team taken care of? Is this taken care of? You can always just be like, I'm just going to focus on my team and help them do really well.
Because then they're just
And then
naturally...
they're going to take care of the rest of it.
Yep.
So that's the scenario where I think that if as leaders, as business owners, whatever, we focused on that, you'd see so much more success.